Station.
Yeah.
I'm recording. This is about apes, not about dragons.
Hmm. You know what? Sometimes apes are disappointment. All right. Welcome to Podcast 1999, the podcast about hang gliders.
In Malibu. Hang gliders in
Hang
Malibu.
gliders in Malibu. It's me, Mark.
Hi, Matt is here. Coming back
And
after a while. First ape? Is this the first ape you've been here, Brian?
Oh, I
oh,
thought, aren't we doing Space 1999 season three?
That's
Oh,
right,
okay.
which
yeah.
involves all apes.
Yeah, Commander Konag is here.
That's right. There was a Commander Koenig in this. No, I remember watching this as a very young lad, many, many years ago. And the one episode that stuck in my head was the hang glider one because it was like early 70s. Hang gliders were in the zeitgeist, even though I guess they were invented long ago when, people started just throwing themselves off of cliffs with wings. But, around the beginning of the 20th century, there got to be some science behind it. And then in the 60s, there was some developments about hang gliding that led to that delta wing configuration. It's called Rogallo wing configuration, which became all the rage. And that's basically what they built here. So everywhere you turn, there were hang gliders. And so it was inevitable, I guess, that there had to be a Planet of the Apes episode about it.
Have any of you
Yeah.
glid? Have you been hang gliding?
I've seen many. When I lived in San Francisco, I used to go down to Port Funston and watch people hang glide there, but I never got up the nerve to attempt it or the
No.
funds to
I
buy
haven't
one.
been I haven't
I
been
figured I'd
bungee
probably kill
jumping.
myself.
No bungee
Bungee
jump.
jumping, that's it. Bungee jumping is a one step into the void. So if you can handle that, maybe you can handle hanging from a piece of cloth in the sky. But yeah.
It's funny. I really wanted to when I was a kid, even though I've always been kind of afraid of heights. Like maybe less afraid of heights now, but I think it was still in the zeitgeist in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I've never actually done it. I've never seen anything that said hang gliding lessons. I don't think it's very big here because there aren't like high enough mountains. Like if the mountains that
Oh
are high
yeah.
enough to hang glide off of are like not really accessible with cars. Like maybe if you go a little further north into the Appalachians, you can find hang gliding spots.
You'd
But
Well,
go
I think
hang glide
then
in
not really.
Gatlinburg, Tennessee.
I always thought California
You
was
can
like
zip
ground
line.
zero for this sort of thing because one, it seemed almost kind of a hippie thing to do. And also because we have so many mountains and cliffs in California that it lends itself to that. Deserts are a good place to go, apparently, because of the thermals, because they can ride those thermals spiral up into the air thousands of feet. Like Central
Ooh,
Australia in the outback, there's some places that are supposedly really good for hang gliding. So,
neat.
yeah,
Like a
something
spirit spring.
I guess
I
my
might still
most
be able to do that, or go jump out of a plane in a
yeah.
parachute one of these days, just to say that I've done it. But
I think we can all do that. Come on. We all hear about. I'm 85 and I just hang glid and jumped out of a plane and bungee jumped for the first
I
time. You
just
hear that
done
all the
hang
time.
glid.
I just done
I
hang
I,
glid.
I
I
done
glid
hang
and not a
glid.
hang. I hang
Now,
glid and I got a hang nail, but it's fine.
now I
That's the
guess my
Okay.
tag.
most extreme
The
would
one
be
where Galen Dunn hang glid. That's the tag from the
Yeah.
episode.
I guess my
Yeah.
most extreme sport would be rock climbing, which doesn't sound that extreme when you're talking about hang gliding.
It could be.
Yeah, I
Well, with
accidentally
Uh,
no
do it once
ropes,
without
that's
a
very extreme. You know,
accidentally once, yes.
oh
In
God, like you
California
forgot
where
your
you have lots
ropes.
the
of
opening of
cliffs.
Star Trek Five still makes me nervous.
No, actually we were walking down a beach and the beach kept getting smaller and smaller and then it's kind of a ledge and then I'm like, wait a minute, climbing rocks and the ocean's crashing like 2 meters beneath me, you know? So yeah, that probably wasn't a great idea. I stopped and took a
Gradual,
picture.
yeah,
I
gradual
mean,
rock climbing.
I have been on a jet ski once, and I've been on like a lot of the craziest roller coasters, and I don't know, a lot. I've been on a fair amount of the craziest roller coasters, and I would go on more.
Does Thunder Dolphin count?
What is that like when a
That's the
dolphin?
Tokyo that's the Tokyo Dome City
Oh,
one. It goes really fast and
okay.
you smell barbecue at one point because it goes over a building that has a barbecue restaurant.
I mean, you've
I
been
like the
on a
way Matt
Goliath
just
in the
drops these
U.S.,
things in
right?
the conversation, like we are all very familiar with Japanese
Well, I
tourist
just
spots.
wondered if Thunder Dolphin had notoriety as a roller coaster, like
I'll tell
King
you in a
Ka that they're
moment.
taking down. Okay.
I guess,
Oh
yeah,
God, King
if you're into
Ka is
that.
like, nah, dude. Okay, well, Thunder Dolphin is pretty respectable at 262 feet tall. It is one of the tallest, number 10 in the tallest continuous circuit roller coasters.
Okay, that's not
I
bad.
think I've ridden two long higher that are higher than this. So that's like pretty impressive. Speed 130 speed 81 miles per hour or 130 kilometers per hour. That's respectable. That looks cool.
Okay, that's a real roller coaster. Just
I
checking.
think I've rode four of the six roller coasters at Six Flags Magic Mountain, but that was like 30 years ago. I could only handle
Did you
four of
ride
them. I
that?
just
Did
Hmm?
you ride that triple launch Superman one? That's what I wanted to ride.
Oh, did it exist 30 years ago, or is it newer than that? Because that was the last time I
Oh,
went to
I
Magic
sorry. I
Mountain.
thought you said 3 years ago. 30
No,
years ago,
30 years
probably not.
ago.
Probably not. Probably not. Um,
God, it's
but
more like 35 when I think about it. Anyway,
Do you want to
but you know
trust
what did
Valencia
exist
teens to put you on a
35
roller
years ago?
coaster?
I mean, you want to trust Atlanta teens to do it?
No. uh,
Um,
let's move on
but
with our
because I'll
lives,
tell
I
you right
guess. And
now, the Superman roller coaster here just some of the restraints just don't automatically close, so someone has to like ratchet it down and like use one of those, like hand cranks to just tighten it in and just kick it in. So like how do you like that? And then you're like, since you're flying, you're like, putting all of your weight on the thing that someone just did that to.
hmm.
And you know what? I've done that like 10 times and
Okay,
I
well,
don't
you
care.
trust Atlanta teens. Good.
Well, I'm alive, so clearly they did a great job.
Give us some
Anyway, this
trivia.
is
Trivia us
up.
up.
We haven't even said the name of this episode
You're
yet.
about to
It's
say it.
up
You're
above the
saying.
world so high, like a monkey in the sky.
See, my line is like a diamond in my mind.
That makes sense. Um, but it's also like a diamond, like a monkey in the sky.
True.
So anyway, trivia. This is, of course, the 14th and final episode aired of the series, and it was the 14th produced. This was filmed around the same area as Tomorrow's Tide. That was the shark episode, if you've forgotten.
oh, I was
I
wondering about
couldn't,
that.
yeah, I couldn't find much about the stunt work, although uncredited stunt performers include Hubie Kearns Jr., Ernest Robinson, and Fred Waugh, Waugh. As mentioned before, the show had the Friday night death slot against the NBC smash hits Sanford and Son and Chico and the Man and Kung Fu. Um, according to Roddy McDowell, the show actually ended up having a sufficient audience, but it was mostly children, which didn't sit well with the show's sponsors. So, Brian, they did not value your viewership, unfortunately, because I think that children weren't given a lot of spending money before Star
Well,
Wars
at
came out.
least it was on Friday night where I could stay up, past 9 o'clock to watch something. Although this probably
That
aired
makes
at
sense.
8.
I definitely watched more TV when I was under 16 on Fridays than any time after, including now. Another first time director this week is John Meredith Lucas. That's Meredith with a Y. Born in 1919 in Los Angeles, he actually has more writing credits than directing, but also has a few producing credits, including 10 episodes of Star Trek, and he directed 3 and wrote 4 of Star Trek. Although there is some overlap, so I didn't do the math, but I would say that he was involved with more than 17 episodes total. And he even wrote a script for Star Trek Phase 2. So, yeah. But anyway, back to his directing career, you can also see him direct 4 episodes of Night Gallery, and his last several credits were weird straight-to-video Jesus stuff for Vision Video in the 80s. And I think Vision Video is also the name of a porn distributor, but this is clearly not that. Anyway, another first-time writer, too. 2 first-time writers. It's first Shimon Winselberg. They're really testing me here. Born in 1924 in Kiel, Germany. This was towards the end of his career, but he did write 1 episode of Logan's Run, 2 episodes of Star Trek, and 7 episodes of Lost in Space, one of which was also adapted for the Netflix reboot series. His co-writer is Arthur Brown Jr., born in 1923 in Washington, D.C., has a much shorter resume, but he wrote the screenplay for Clambake, several episodes of the 80s Zorro, and his last credit was an episode of Ghostbusters in 1986. This is a Simon Says situation. If you're paying attention, you'll notice I did not say the real Ghostbusters.
Mm.
You might remember Martin E. Brooks as Leander from episode The Surgeon. He is back here as Commander Konag, not to be confused with Commander Koenig. Joanna Barnes guest stars as Carcia. Born in Boston in 1934, she moved to LA right out of high school. Her resume starts in the 50s and runs up until her retirement in the late 90s. IMDb says that in late July 1960, Barnes was dropped from the Boston Social Register for having become an actress. And I don't know what that means, but it makes me think that she might have grown up extremely rich. Anyway, you can see her in Spartacus. I wonder who's killing her now? And I don't know why that has a question mark at the end of it.
I wondered if you wanted an answer.
I wonder who's killing her. Like, you don't really need. Well, you say.
I wonder who's killing her now.
I wonder who's killing.
I wonder
her
who's
now.
killing her now. No.
And Violent Road. She passed away in 2022 at the age of 87. As Lurik, we have Frank Alater. I'm not convinced we haven't seen somebody else named Lurik. He was born in 1926 in Queens. After fighting in World War II, he had a long career in mostly TV acting. You could see him in the Twilight Zone episode, The Parallel. He's not the guy who went to the other dimension, but
He wasn't the parallel.
He was not the parallel. He was also in episodes of Kolchak the Night Stalker and $6 Million Man, and he appeared in the first episode of The Golden Girls as the first on-screen boyfriend of many of Blanche Devereaux.
Wow.
He retired from acting in the 90s and passed away in 2009. And that is the last trivia you'll ever get, ever.
Until the next
episode.
one. Oh, from this episode. Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, the Star Trek writer credit jumped out at me because he's credited as S. Bar David, which always struck me as a weird name. And yeah, I immediately recognized. He also famously, since he wrote Dagger of the Mind, invented the Vulcan mind meld.
You're right. I was like, Dagger of the Mind jumped out at me, and I was like, why do I feel like I need to mention Dagger of the Mind? And that's why. So yeah, he invented that. That's
Dagger
pretty.
I forgot what the other episode he wrote was, though. That's the only one that came to mind. But that was a very weird screen credit, and so it always stuck in my head. And so when I saw it here again, I was like, "Oh, that guy."
Well, I mean, the first thing that jumped into my head was like, that's just a really cool episode title because it is.
Well, I'll do a plot, which I wrote half of it simultaneously talking to Mark, so we'll see how that turned out. First half should be good. Alan, Paul, and Galen spot a man flying in a glider, but so does a gorilla patrol. The gorillas find the glider, but our heroes find the man, Lurik. Despite the impending gorilla death, Lurik has a death wish to fly, and our heroes decide he'll be better off if they try and help him. Carcia, a scientist from the Ape City, comes to try and work out the secrets of flight. Lurik is arrested and must prove that he can fly or be executed. Galen and Carcia flirt while Alan and Paul build a better glider and burn down Lurik's glider. Galen tests the glider successfully, and then with Lurik, everyone leaves happy except Carcia, who, as it turns out, wanted to use the glider as a bomber to kill everyone with her cluster bombs, grenades, whatever. I'm just going to stop there. I think that's when Brian came onto the Zoom call.
I mean, they escape. Well, you know,
they always do. Although they don't get home, do they? They seem to quit caring about going home after the 4th episode anyway, though.
Well, it's a good point to like ask, what the hell are they even doing? You know, why are they even doing this?
This is very much a just walk away situation.
They're going from town to town, righting wrongs and fighting injustice, and then going to the next town. That's kind of your basic television
helping
plot,
a guy who's doing something dumb and is going to get killed by doing it, by what he's doing or by gorillas.
It's Knight Rider, you know, or BJ and the Bear or whatever, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those pull the tiniest thread and it kind of falls apart. But it's like, if you look at it like, well, they prevented a gorilla genocide, then yeah, sure.
Yeah, but that was a pretty late stage discovery
here. It's almost like
that was an interesting reveal, wasn't it?
we have gorillas talking about how like humans would be executed for even having a book. So like, should they be killed? I hate to be like that.
Yeah, you're kind of a little on the fence as to wiping out the Ape Council. Good idea, bad idea, because they've been pretty crappy to humans, but still.
It's like less apes overall.
I just kept calling her. What was
and
her name? I couldn't remember her name, so I just kept calling her just a female
Carcia.
scientist.
Carcia. Think of
It,
carcinogens.
it kept the YouTube subtitles kept saying car seat. It's like I need to
I
talk
think I
to
finally
car
settled
seat.
on Carissa or something, wasn't it? Carissa or I don't know.
Carcia.
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 See, I didn't
Okay, but that
even
yeah.
when you watch these on YouTube, the subtitles are so messed up. I just quit with them. I mean, I just, I can
Yeah.
work it out. That most of this dialogue isn't Shakespeare unless someone quotes Shakespeare, and then they're just quoting Shakespeare or Twinkle
But
Twinkle
wait, are
Little
you
Star.
saying that it's not Shakespeare if you're just quoting Shakespeare?
Wait,
What
you're
is
saying Twinkle
Shakespeare
Twinkle Little
then?
Star Shakespeare? I didn't know that.
I'm saying you can't claim the credit for that dialogue in your script if you just jam it in there.
Okay.
Yeah,
This is
there we go.
public domain.
That said, the more apes, I guess that's the key of the show. The more apes there are, the better the episode is. Because I did have fun with this, which is
Uh,
mostly apes.
yeah.
Even Lurik, like he doesn't do much. He's just kind of there. He gets a couple scenes, but he's mostly just this weird, goofy guy that's not
Well,
associating with
yeah, but
reality.
it's not like the main apes. They're kind of like, I'm sorry, second banana apes. They're not the they're not Urko and they're not Zaius, except for like one shot, right? Meanwhile,
We've
we
Yeah, we
had
had
could use
ape
a little
council,
more
and then that
Urko.
was it. That was like
I
one
think we've
scene.
had a few. We've had a few that I think could go toe to toe with Urko and Zaius. Like Curcia wasn't quite there, but I think she's sort of. I don't know if we're doing tier lists of all the apes, which is what we should do for a bonus episode if we're really bored. She would definitely be in the like A or B tier.
Ape
Do
tier,
you even
but
know what
and we
tier?
get
You
one. We
guys know
get
what
one.
tiers are? Never
Yes,
mind.
we get a good scene of Mark Lenard screaming at everyone. So we got at least the one
Yeah,
scene, right? Where he
One
properly
one
screams at
screen.
everyone. Yeah.
it definitely seemed like something they filmed at some other time.
Crap, he's still in
That's
contract. Get him in
Yeah,
here.
I think they filmed it in another episode or something, or just part of another production block, and so they could take the week off. But
yeah.
chimpanzees, they're kind of elitist, aren't they? They think they're the best of the apes. What's up with
That
that?
that's a gorilla mindset you've got there.
Or is it an orangutan mindset? I don't know which.
They
I think
want to
that's
turn everything into a Hollywood. I don't know. I'm trying to think. I started to talk before I had an actual thought formed. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean
I
Roddy
was
McDowell
thinking,
is kind of the, like well, and Kim Hunter, but just they're the baseline for chimpanzees, which they kind of do in the original movie, but it has a different flavor. But yeah, at this point, we've noticed how Roddy has basically become this weird con man twit, which is or Galen,
Yep.
I should say, which is kind of fantastic. We get a few seeds of like really weird Galen in here. We get goofy, petulant Galen, Then he's trying to get slick and horny. So I definitely enjoyed Galen in this episode.
Yeah,
seductive
definitely.
Galen is the best Galen. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like, get out of here. I'm talking. I'm
You know,
talking to Curcia. Get out of here.
I just had a realization that the apes are kind of like the Minbari castes of Babylon 5. There's like worker, which would be the gorillas, and then there's the religious, it would be the chimpanzees, and then there was no the religious
The,
would be
the orangutans.
the orangutans because they hold up the law, right? And then yeah, the chimpanzees are like the what's the third
Scientists.
class? Scientist class or whatever. Well, worker,
More or
warrior,
less.
religious. Actually, no. So
Yeah.
warrior would be the gorillas, and the chimpanzee is probably more like the. Okay, that analogy fell apart pretty quickly. But
No, that
anyway,
works.
Well, maybe.
Worker warriors is a slash, and then scientists and religion, politics,
yeah,
because
Well,
orangutans are mostly do most of the politicking.
they paint with a broad brush, which is good because they just don't have access to a lot of different kinds of apes for this, for obvious reasons. So if you really make it rigid, like everybody's like, you can't have like three different kinds of Klingons,
I
like that
was
wouldn't
thinking
work. It
you
would be
can
too
yeah.
boring.
maybe that's why they're trying to bring Roddenberry in there. Like, okay, he can play the gorillas like the Klingons, he can play the chimpanzees like the Vulcans, he can play the orangutans like the Romulans.
That's a
Yeah, I mean
better
it's
parallel. There, you got it.
yeah, and he would also be able to just make the philosophy work a little bit better because yeah, it's like I kind of wonder, is this the last one produced and it was always alleged that he was brought in before, like he was brought in basically too late to do anything, but the idea that that genocide is bad and they stop a genocide isn't
Like two
really something we've
episodes in a
seen.
row.
We haven't really seen that in the show, right? Like that's not even
Wasn't
we
the
haven't seen
gas? There was
apes like
that gas a few weeks ago. A similar thing a few weeks ago because they overdid it. It seemed like she was just gonna like
well,
stink bomb
but
the
Was that the
apes
episode
the
that
themselves.
supposedly
gas,
didn't air? Was there like a lost
Yeah, yeah,
episode?
yeah. The Liberator. That was the previous week where
Yeah, I
yeah,
need to
but
go back and watch that because obviously, well, I don't remember any of them, but I don't remember that one. I didn't
but
watch it.
there was no, but there hasn't been any specific like race of apes turns on other race of ape because remember ape will not
ape shall
kill
not
ape,
ape.
right?
Yes.
Ape,
Right,
this
right,
is
right.
way out from that. You know, this is seriously, and she's not played up like a super like mustache twirling villain, and yeah, most of the scheming like of ape against ape has been like political, like I'm going to take your territory or I'm going to win this horse race. But this is straight up like I am going to. Somehow she thinks she's going to kill all the gorillas in the world or something because of
I
one
think she just
bomb.
wanted to take out the council, but then somehow
Yeah,
take the place of the council.
Yeah. Well, that was in
she's kind
Liberator.
of
It was a
talking like
human that had this stuff in the Liberator. He had all the World War II like
Mm.
gas, right? So
yeah,
and they're like, you're going to destroy the world, which was kind of a jump to conclusion thing here. So here she's got some cluster grenades, like you're going to kill everybody, which is a little strong.
Well, I said it.
I
I said
mean,
it in my notes. I just straight out said it. She's a chimpanzee Nazi.
Mm.
yep, absolutely. And yeah, then and you know, I don't know how Galen thought he was going to like just strategically catch the glider on fire and not kill everyone. Like that worked out, but you know,
I remembered that scene when I came up and said, "Oh, the magnifying glass. Yeah, he's gonna stick it. Oh, yeah, I remember that. That was like the one scene that stuck in my head from what 50 years ago."
yeah. I mean that was all really fun. That's sort of the thing is that they didn't lean too heavily on the like maybe this episode worked better with it being kind of light and breezy than like leaning super heavy on like how Nazi the like Cursia was.
Right.
Or do you
But we
think
did
guys
get
think
the
this would have
insane
worked better
temple
if she
last
was more?
week. Insane temple
Yeah.
last week. No insane temple this week. So there's a plus for the Liberator. But
Were you
Uh,
waiting for that turn? Was it too obvious? She was a little too sweet and kind, and you're kind of thinking,
yeah,
what's her
I was
deal?
suspicious as hell. It seems like every almost every ape who's like, no, let's just let this human live is like immediately suspicious.
Yeah.
well, there was a guy in the Gladiator in that one other episode where he was kind of, like you couldn't trust him, but he wasn't like
Barlow.
outright. Yes, he wasn't outright hostile. He was just
Yeah.
a snitch or something.
I do really like that basically the most evil guest star apes we've had have been lady apes. Like I think that's kind of interesting. I don't think they were trying to play it like a misogynistic angle. It's just like they're these like, you know,
Equal opportunity villainy. I
ambitious.
mean, yeah, if men can be villains, women can be villains too.
Meanwhile, I guess Urko never killed anybody.
Aw,
Nope.
poor Urko.
Yeah, yeah, Brian, our theory has been that Urko has actually never killed anyone and he's just yelling about it, but has
And he
never
has a
actually.
human wife at home.
He's kind of a
Yes.
poser gorilla. That what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He goes
that's
home
our
and reads poetry with his human wife.
yeah, that's our theory. If he ever did kill anyone, he'd be like, ah! He just like just flip out a bit.
Yeah. I mean, would this episode have been better if it was an Urko featured episode and Urko was the guy trying to kill people with cluster bombs? I feel
I
like if he
think
tried to kill people, he would just shoot them.
no, that wouldn't be I think Urko could have been in the town screaming for Garcia to, work faster or something, which he's kind of doing from the Ape City, but he could have put boots on the ground in the town. And but
Yeah.
it might have been a scheduling thing. It might have been like it's Leonard's week off. That's so it's kind of hard to say. We don't know the production details,
Or he just doesn't like Malibu.
or he doesn't like Malibu.
Yeah, like it definitely sticks out to me a lot how much they bring up Zayas and how little he's probably got what a total of 10 minutes of screen time in the entire series.
And he's in the opening credits, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so weird. I did it. It is kind of weird. I guess I guess it took The Simpsons before Zaius really got stuck in our minds, you know? So in 1974, nobody cared that much.
It's a
You need the
different Zaius,
song.
but I don't think it was super smart for them to just name another guy Zaius because okay, yeah, I get it. Maybe if someone watched the movie and was a complete idiot, they need an ape named Zaius who looks like that to understand what's going on,
The thing is, he's
right? Like,
basically the same character in both. Just how
yeah,
Roddy's not the same ape, you know, like between the movies and his TV show. But Zaius, even
exactly.
different actor, same, really the same ape, even though he's not, you know.
Yeah, so
I think it's
they
like
should have just named somebody
we
something
mentioned
else.
before. It's kind of. I think Zaius is just a title, maybe. That makes the
That would
most
be
sense.
fun.
You
Or you
could
It's
be
think
our
Roddy's
it's
Professor
our
kind of
X.
like
village
it's
is Zaius.
you mean Galen versus
Cornelius or Caesar.
Cornelius? Yeah, it's
Hmm.
kind of like a Tom Paris situation where he's got the same actor to play the same role, two different names.
Yeah,
Yes.
but those two guys are basically the same character. Where I do feel like Galen is quite distinct from Cornelius or Caesar. And I mean,
Well,
Cornelius
I
and
mean,
Caesar are
wasn't
somewhat distinct. Not as much, though, I think.
I'm 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 not entirely sure if I remember mission log going into this or not, but wasn't that whole thing just that they didn't want to give pay royalties to the guy who wrote the episode with
It was Nicholas Locarno
Tom
in it.
Paris?
Yeah,
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 You're going
I
yeah, they
think
back
just
to
didn't
so.
want
that.
to pay
Yeah,
that
yeah.
guy royalties for every single episode of Voyager, which I kind of understand, but also, mm, you know what I mean?
Yeah, over on the Disney podcast, we realized that's why
Uh,
the Enchanted Princess never gets included with the princesses, because if they did that, they'd have to pay Amy Adams every time.
but you could also what given what Tom Paris's character is like, if he didn't have an admiral who was related to him and had the same last name, they could have just been like, oh, he changed his name because he's a scumbag.
Well, they've done this
That
a couple times on
that goes out the
Doctor
window.
Who. Like Martha Jones had a cousin who was in a previous episode. They made a distinct connection. Oh, she's related to that person who was played by the same actors.
Any other big points that you folks want to throw out on this hang glider episode? Oh, the first time
Mm.
Galen takes flight, Roddy just starts making actual monkey noises, which I don't remember him doing before.
Yes,
He's just like,
I mean
"Ooh,
he's done
ah."
that.
Okay, I
He's
don't
done that a little
remember
bit.
going quite that,
He didn't go that ape,
chimp
if that's
out.
what you were
Yeah.
gonna say. He didn't chip out that much.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on the one thing I really liked that was funny and on the nose to me personally was that when they were making that glue for the hang glider and he got his hands stuck and they were stuck in like the pyramid, like the scheming position, like he's like, I'm stuck like this. I have to scheme forever. I will miss Galen and
They had
Urko
to give him
and
some little goofy slapstick routine at least once per episode, I guess, where he
slapstick.
did something. Yeah, get it,
Yeah,
stick. Yeah,
yeah.
where he does
I'll
something
miss.
really kind of dumb by our standards just to prove that, oh, he's a goofy old ape, you know.
But I was about to make a point.
You were making a point. You forgot your point.
Fuck. I forgot my point. Oh, I'll miss Galen. I'll miss Urko. To a lesser extent, I'll miss the humans.
You can watch them in any 70s show played by different actors.
I will miss Galen and Urko very much.
Yes, yes. I will miss get the again Urkel. If I want to watch Alan and Pete, I'll watch Starsky and Hutch or
Streets
season
of
two
San
Space 1999.
Francisco or
Yeah.
any random 70s cop show, they'll probably be there, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would be coming here
What?
for the Galen and the Urko if I came back, you know?
That's true. You're not going to get that dynamic in almost anything else. You're not going to get like a screaming maniac who's in charge of a bunch of things and then a scheming guy who's just helping a couple of, I don't know, maybe Hogan's Heroes is like that. I don't know.
He's like a dilettante hero, you know?
Yeah. I,
Which is fun.
yeah, I
I'm gonna
identify.
miss Mark Lenard because it's like other than Star Trek, what other, and that wasn't even a regular gig, really. He was in one episode, and then later
Well,
on,
he
I think
does the
prior to
three,
this,
movies,
right?
yeah.
in the
There's a
movie and TNG, he shows up a couple times, but he played this ape character more consistently than any other character that I'm aware of, unless he was a regular on another show.
Yeah.
Was he? Yeah, I've never
Um,
seen him outside of Star Trek. Rarely saw him outside of Star Trek.
yeah,
So
I
it's
guess we
fun to
haven't
have him
considered
around.
that this is just like after just like that the original run as Sarek.
Mm,
He hasn't done most of his Sareking yet at this point. That's interesting. But yeah,
yeah.
that's kind of the discovery of this one. He's the MVP of the show because Roddy's just the reliable player, so you need the guy to knock it out of the park, and that's Urko.
Well, he plays four different characters in four different episodes of Hawaii Five-O. Um,
Well, he
he
played two different characters in Star Trek, didn't he?
Hmm.
yeah, and he was. I mean, yeah, that's as many apes as that's as many characters Roddy McDowell's played. He'll be in one episode of Buck Rogers in the 25th Century,
Ooh.
and
We'll
then
just
there's a bunch of Star Trek.
we'll leave the Leonard meter running for now then, but
Yeah.
let's do our questions, which is how much of this is sci-fi action fun and how much of it is existential dread.
Oh, well, he did. We did have you know, a mass destruction plot. It kind of squeezed in at the very end, almost under the wire. So that was kind of dreadful, but it was a lot of fun. Just yeah, they're discovering flight for the first time in the ape world, and so that seemed like it was a pretty pivotal. And Galen had time of his life up there after the first 10 seconds of sheer horror. So it was enjoyable watching him, and he stick the landing. He did not crash into the water. Not the first time, but.
I think he meant to a second
I
time.
mean,
The second time he meant to. I was going
That's
to
the
say,
same.
they went into the water, then they swam to a raft, and then the guys up on the cliff who can see the entire ocean said, "Well, they're gone."
Same thing happened in Tomorrow's Time at the same
yeah,
location.
yeah, exactly. And I don't think
You didn't see the
that's not
raft right there. You didn't see
yeah.
the camera is now zooming in on the raft that you did not see.
Camera was not on the raft, that's why.
Well, they got away is the ending to at least
Somehow
I
they
think at
got
least three
away.
of these.
And they never got home again.
Of course,
That-
they
that's the
never left
dread of
home.
that's the dread of this episode. See, I was gonna say 80
Yeah.
fun because of all the hang glider fun. Brian remembers it from being a child. 20 because I mean we got the end of the world stuff last week and better for that aspect. It was kind of tacked on here, so 20. But yeah, maybe
I
20. I'll
mean,
make it 25, 75 because these astronauts are never getting home.
yeah, let's be real about it. I'll give like the actual answer is that yeah, to travel back in time even a slight amount, you'd probably need more energy than the Earth could produce even on a good day. And the Earth hasn't seen a good day in probably hundreds or thousands of years. And then you'd have to, it's just not happening. Not happening with this society. Like there just isn't likely to be a method to go because going forward in time, super relatively easy.
But
But
we're only tacking on this episode because it's episode 14 and it's the last. If it was episode 13, we wouldn't be
yes,
making that point. So I don't know if
no,
that's
of
right
course
or
not.
not. But so
But
anyway.
I'm going 80-20 fun because I can't think too much about how they have to have it in the back of their head somewhere that they aren't likely to get back home. So I don't think that they're thinking about that all the time anymore at this point. And I mean,
Did you
yes,
guys
20% for genocide. Sorry, go ahead.
did you guys see that there was some airing of this show in LA later that they actually got Roddy McDowell to do intros and outros for. So there exists more footage of him as Galen, as an old Galen, describing their adventures together, kind of like Young Indiana Jones Chronicles was in the first time around. That exists out there, and in one of those, he said something to the effect that the two astronauts did finally find their computer and found their way home, which was kind
Oh,
of
well,
weird, like the
yeah,
opposite of Quantum Leap.
Yeah,
They
I'll
I
found
have
say.
their way
not
home.
watched these. I don't know how accessible they are, but apparently that's all of the movie compilations. The
I don't.
compilations of these episodes that were made into movies, which
Right,
was
right. I heard
most
about
of them.
that.
Which was like no, but that was the old Galen introducing those, and those were released in like the 80, 79. So apparently that's what that's from, and I wouldn't be surprised if
Oh,
that was
okay.
also rebroadcast. Um,
Someone said they were just
too.
broadcast and never saved somewhere, but then there was the the compilation movies that I'm aware of as well. So I'm not sure where they came from, but
Maybe the
anyway, there's
intros are
the
on the
I'm pretty
button.
sure
DVD,
that's what,
but that's an expensive
according
set that's
to,
hard to find now.
I mean, that absolutely, it could be false information, but everything I've seen pointed to that's where the Galen introductions, old Galen introductions came from, is those movies, which would have been done a little bit after. So yeah, if Galen says that they got home, then they got home, right? That has to be canon, because what else is
He's a bit of a
what
con
else could be
man.
canon? Yeah, he's just lying so he could get into your council. I don't know. I don't know what he wants from us.
How many bananas for this episode? 0 up to 7. I'm gonna just go ahead and cheat. What I want to do is have 7 bunches of 7, right? And then I'm gonna have a
Yeah.
banana gun. I'm gonna go skeet shooting the glider with it. So I'm shooting the bananas at the glider.
Yeah, I was gonna say 5 bananas, but then each banana explodes and then into several other bananas, so you end up with like
35.
70 bananas. Yep.
Oh, you mean like the fragmentation cosmoline
Yes.
bananas? Is that what they
I have.
are?
Did either of you guys ever play Worms?
That sounds like something I did at some point. Yeah.
I mean, that's just the type of weapon. There is a banana bomb in that, and there's also a cluster grenade. So that just sounds like a weapon that would be in Worms.
Okay. Brian, your banana number?
Um, I'll get to that in just a second. I was going to tell you that I found one of those old Galen intros on YouTube, so I'll just shoot you the link there.
Oh,
All
Uh,
right.
and there might be more than that, but there's an example of it. Um, well, as I said, it was the episode stuck in my mind after all these years, so I got to give it at least 5 bananas just for nostalgia and technology. I love it when they mess around with, something that's totally new and unique to their world, but we're all kind of like, oh, that's old hat. We do that all the time here in 21st century America. So, and since I
Okay,
haven't been
America.
here to do any others, I'll just go ahead and throw an extra banana in there for that. So I'll give it 6 bananas.
6
It's
bananas.
my only chance to give him all the bananas I can give you.
Um, well, as we wrap up the series, we're taking a
I'm gonna just for the benefit of the listeners, the old Galen bumpers all look like he's some kind of late night horror host wearing a kind
it
of
makes sense.
Like Fright Night.
below
Yeah, that's what I'll
below
say.
par. I'm gonna say it looks like the mouth moves, but it's definitely, I'd say, a subpar costume. Probably they couldn't get anyone who actually worked on the movies to make anything. So yeah, I'll be watching that later though with the sound.
All right. We will be taking a bit of a hiatus before we get to the animated series. So, go back to your Space 1999s, go back to your movies, or dig us at other places, podcastiopodcastius.org. Also, Podcastius on Patreon, where we talk about really highly rated, really lowly rated movies on IMDb. That's Films and Filth. Talking about the Twilight Zone at Time Enough Podcast. Talking about Pokemon, Luke Loves Pokemon, Game Show, Monster Mash, and so on. There are other things to listen to while we take a few weeks off.
Yep, and
Go fly a kite.
stay go. Was anybody else disappointed that this was described as a flying machine?
You want a
Like, I
glider?
thought it would be one of those Leonardo da Vinci rotating dealies. It's not a machine. It's not machine enough for me. Anyway, I guess that's a
At least
point
they
that I
had a
should have
cool
made up.
montage. You gotta have a montage to put
Yeah,
together the glider.
Oh, I
yep.
felt that
Go.
made me feel like Boy Scout camp again when they were doing that for some reason. I could saw the wood and the tying sticks together and stuff. Hmm.
That time you made the hang glider that you
Go
forgot
tie
we
some
made.
sticks together. Okay, I stopped there. Hit the recording.